You grew up hearing that you were the family problem, that you were too sensitive, too intense, too different. And deep down, you carry a pain that you could never explain to anyone. Because how are you going to tell that the people who should protect you are precisely the ones who hurt you the most? I know you clicked on this video because something inside you recognized this title, and I am going to tell you something now that perhaps no one has ever told you. You are not insane. You are not the problem. And today God will show you exactly who are the three people who form this triangle of destruction in your life. Stay with me until the end, because what I am going to reveal here can completely change the way you view your own story. Let me ask you a direct question. Have you already noticed that there is a pattern in your family's fights? That there is always someone who starts the conflict, someone who throws wood onto the fire, and someone who pretends they see nothing? And in the end, guess who always comes out as the villain? You. Always you. It does not matter what happened. It does not matter who started it. When the dust settles, you are the one in the wrong. You are the one who needs to apologize. You are the one who needs to change. If you identified with this, you need to understand one thing. This has a name. In psychology, this is called triangulation, and in spirituality, this is called the persecution of the chosen one. And today, you will understand why these two things are connected, why precisely you were the target, and more importantly, how you are going to leave this trap once and for all. Before continuing, I need you to do one thing. Subscribe to the channel now, activate the bell. Because the content I bring here is not for everyone. It is for those who are ready to hear the truth, even if it hurts. And from what I am going to show you today, you will want to follow everything that is coming. Let us begin with the symptoms. How do you identify that you are trapped in this triangle? Pay attention, because this will give you clarity about situations you have lived through for years and could never understand. First symptom, you feel constantly watched and judged by your family. No matter what you do, it seems it is never enough. You may have built a career, raised your children with love, overcome enormous difficulties. But when you arrive at Sunday lunch, there is always someone who makes a comment. There is always someone who raises an eyebrow. There is always someone who finds a defect in what you have achieved. And the worst, you perceive that they talk about you behind your back. You feel it. You enter the environment and the atmosphere changes. The conversations stop. Glances cross. And you stay there pretending you did not notice, but inside you are asking yourself, what did I do this time? Second symptom, you are the depository of everyone's frustrations. You know that relative who is always stressed, the one who always has a problem, the one who is never satisfied with anything? Well then, somehow the blame always falls on you. If the mother is sick, it is because you do not call enough. If the father is sad, it is because you disappointed him. If the brother is having financial difficulties, it is because you do not help as you should. You become the emotional punching bag of the entire family. And the cruelest part is that no one does this openly. They are indirect hints, they are sighs, they are phrases thrown into the air that hit you like stabs. But if you complain, you are the one being exaggerated. Third symptom, you have the constant sensation that you need to prove your value. Since you were a child, you learned that love in your family is conditional, that you need to do, produce, please, annul yourself to be accepted. And even after becoming an adult, even living far away, even having your own life, you still feel this weight. You still seek approval from people who will never give it to you. You still catch yourself wanting to show that you changed, that you grew, that you deserve respect. But no matter how much you try, it is never enough. And this leaves you exhausted. It leaves you empty. It leaves you with anger at yourself for still caring. If you identified with at least two of these symptoms, I need you to pause for a second and breathe deeply. Because what I am going to reveal to you now is heavy, but it is liberating. You are not imagining things. You are not being dramatic. There is a structure functioning against you, and it has 3 points. The family triangle of destruction works like this. There is the persecutor, there is the facilitator, and there is the false neutral. These 3 roles alternate, but the objective is always the same: to keep you in the place of the scapegoat, to keep you small, to keep you doubting yourself. The persecutor is that family member who attacks you directly. It is the one who criticizes, who diminishes, who makes you feel incapable. It could be an authoritarian father. It could be a controlling mother. It could be a competitive brother who never accepted your brilliance. The persecutor is the one who offers the face to be slapped, who verbalizes the contempt, who makes you cry in the bathroom after the family lunch. But the persecutor does not act alone. He has an accomplice, the facilitator. The facilitator is the one who feeds the persecutor with information about you. It is the one who tells what you said, what you did, what you posted on social media. The facilitator is that relative who seems nice, who seems to be on your side, but who in truth is playing both sides. It is the one who says to you, "Oh, let it go, you know how he is." It is the one who minimizes the abuse you suffer and makes you think you are exaggerating. The facilitator is dangerous because they wear the mask of an ally. And many times you only realize their role years later when you finally connect the dots. And finally, there is the false neutral. This is perhaps the most treacherous of all. The false neutral is that family member who pretends they see nothing, who says they do not want to get involved, who stays on the fence while you are destroyed. The false neutral watches you be humiliated and does nothing. And do you know why? Because their silence is a choice. Because by not defending you, they are choosing the side of the persecutor. The false neutral is a coward. They prefer to maintain the rotten peace of the family than to protect you. And this omission, this cowardice disguised as neutrality, hurts as much as the direct attack. Now I need you to understand something very important. These roles are not fixed. The same person can be a persecutor at one moment and a facilitator at another. The triangle is dynamic. It adapts. It changes shape depending on the situation. But the center of the triangle, the target that remains the same, you. And why you? Why precisely were you chosen to occupy this place? Here is where science and spirituality meet, and here is where you will finally understand your story. From a psychological point of view, dysfunctional families need a scapegoat to function. This is a concept studied for decades. When a family has problems it does not want to face, when it has secrets it does not want to reveal, when it has pains it does not want to heal, it elects a member to carry all this shadow. And generally this person is the most sensitive, the most perceptive, the one who sees what no one wants to see, the one who speaks what no one wants to hear. You were chosen to be the scapegoat precisely because you are not blind, because you see the hypocrisy, because you feel the falsity, because you cannot pretend everything is fine when it is not. And this bothers them. This threatens them. This destabilizes the entire structure of lies that the family built over generations. From a spiritual point of view, you are what the Bible calls chosen. Not in the sense of being better than others, but in the sense of having a mission. You came to break chains. You came to interrupt patterns. You came to heal wounds that cross generations. And precisely because of this, you are attacked. Because the forces that keep your family trapped do not want you to liberate yourself. Because if you liberate yourself, you will liberate others. And this is a threat to the system. Think with me. Joseph in the Old Testament was hated by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, sold as a slave. And why? Because he had dreams. Because he saw a different future. Because he carried a light that the others could not endure. And look at what happened to Joseph. He became the governor of Egypt. He saved his family from hunger. He fulfilled his purpose. But before that, he went through the desert, through the prison, through rejection. You are in your desert now. You are in your emotional prison. But this is not the end of your story. It is part of it. Let me tell you a real story of a person here from Brazil who went through exactly this. I will call her Claudia, to preserve her identity. Claudia was 43 years old when she finally understood what was happening in her family. For decades, she was the problematic daughter, the one who never did anything right, the one who always disappointed. Her mother was the classic persecutor, constant criticisms, comparisons with the older sister, comments about weight, about marriage, about the way of raising children. The father was the false neutral. He watched everything in silence, said he did not want to get involved, but behind the scenes supported all the decisions of the wife. And the older sister was the perfect facilitator. She seemed like Claudia's friend, listened to her ventings but later told everything to the mother, every secret, every vulnerability, every fear. Claudia spent years in therapy, trying to understand why she felt so empty. why she could not maintain healthy relationships, why she had such difficulty trusting people, until one day her therapist showed her the concept of triangulation, and it was as if a blindfold fell from her eyes. For the first time in her life, Claudia realized she was not insane, that she was not the problem, that there was a structure functioning against her since childhood. From that moment on, Claudia began to change. She established boundaries. She reduced contact with the family. She stopped giving information about her life to her sister. She stopped trying to please her mother. And do you know what happened? The triangle collapsed. The mother began to call crying, saying that Claudia had changed, that she was cold, that she had been influenced. The sister began to play the role of the victim, saying she did not understand why Claudia was distancing herself. The father continued in silence, but now his silence was even heavier. And Claudia suffered. She felt guilty, she doubted herself. But she did not go back, because for the first time she was choosing herself. And today, 3 years later, Claudia has peace. She reconstructed her identity outside the role of the scapegoat. She has healthy relationships. She learned to trust. She healed herself. If you are listening to this story and identifying yourself, I need you to understand healing is possible, but it requires courage. It requires difficult choices. It requires that you stop prioritizing a family that never prioritized you. Now let us talk about the solution. How do you leave this triangle? How do you recover your identity? How do you liberate yourself from a dynamic that has functioned for decades? First step, recognize the triangle. This seems obvious, but it is the most difficult, because the family is an expert in making you doubt your own perception. It is what psychology calls gaslighting. They convince you that you are imagining things, that you are too sensitive, that you distort reality. So the first step is to validate your own experience. What you feel is real. What you lived through happened. You are not insane. Second step, understand that you cannot change others. This is hard to accept, but it is the truth. You are not going to convince the persecutor to respect you. You are not going to make the facilitator stop betraying your trust. You are not going to transform the false neutral into your defender. These people chose their roles, and as long as the triangle works for them, they will not change. The only person you can change is you. Third step, establish boundaries. A boundary is not revenge. A boundary is protection. You do not need to fight. You do not need to make a scandal. You simply stop feeding the system. Stop giving information. Stop justifying yourself. Stop trying to prove your value. You respond with the minimum necessary. You distance yourself when you need to. You protect your energy. And if someone asks why you changed, you owe no explanations. You can simply say, I am prioritizing my mental health. Period. Fourth step, reconstruct your identity outside the family. This is fundamental because for years, your identity was defined by the triangle. You were the problematic one, the sensitive one, the difficult one. Now you need to discover who you truly are. What are your values? What are your dreams? What makes you happy? What would you do if you did not have the fear of judgment? This reconstruction takes time. Sometimes it takes years. But it is the most important work you will do in your life. Fifth step, seek support outside the family. This can be a therapist, a support group, friends who understand you, a spiritual community. You need people who truly see you, who validate your experience, who remind you of your value when you doubt. Because the journey of healing is too solitary to do alone. And here I need to speak of something important, the spiritual question. Many people who go through this carry guilt for distancing themselves from the family because we were taught that family is sacred, that we need to honor father and mother, that we must always forgive. And these truths are important, but they were distorted to keep you trapped. Honoring father and mother does not mean accepting abuse. Forgiving does not mean allowing them to continue hurting you. Loving does not mean annulling yourself. God did not create you to be destroyed. God created you to live in plenitude. And sometimes, to live in plenitude, you need to distance yourself from people who make you wither, even if these people are from your family. Jesus said, I came to bring division. From now on, in a family of 5, 3 will be against 2 and 2 against 3. He knew that following the truth, following the calling, sometimes means breaking with those who cannot accompany you. This is not abandonment. This is obedience to a greater purpose. I know it is difficult. I know it hurts. But you were not made to live your whole life carrying a weight that is not yours. You were not made to be the depository of the frustrations of a family that does not want to evolve. You were made to shine, and the time has come to shine. Now I want to speak directly to you who watched this video until here. If you reached this point, it is not a coincidence. You were ready to hear this. You were ready for this revelation. God brought you here because today is the day in which the triangle begins to be unmasked in your life. I want you to do one thing now. Go to the comments and write, "I recognize the triangle." Just that. You do not need to tell your story. You do not need to expose yourself. But this simple act of recognizing is the first step of liberation. When you name something, you take its power over you. When you recognize what was hidden, the light begins to enter. And if you know someone who is trapped in this triangle, share this video. Send it on WhatsApp, post it in your stories, because perhaps this person does not yet have words to describe what they live. And this video can be the light they need. I will leave you with one last reflection. Do you know what the greatest victory of the triangle is? Making you believe that you deserve to be in it, convincing you that you are the problem, making you doubt your own sanity. And do you know what the greatest defeat of the triangle is? You waking up, you seeing, you standing up and saying, "Enough. This no longer defines me." Today you woke up. Today you saw. Now all that is left is for you to stand up. I believe in you. God believes in you. And in the next video, I will show you how to reconstruct your self-esteem after years of being destroyed by the family. If you do not want to miss it, subscribe to the channel now and activate the bell to receive the notification. I will see you in the next video, and remember, you are not the problem. You never were.